Up next, we have the plenary on disability and inclusion, international context by Professor Vasanthi Srinivasan.
So what I'm going to do, but thank you very much, Fourth Wave Foundation team, thanks very much. So what I will do is, we are running definitely 15 minutes late, okay? So what I thought I will do is cut short in terms of what I was going to speak for 15 minutes and weave that as an introduction so that I will welcome the panelists and we'll try and see if we can close by 12:30. So as I set the context for the session, could I invite Dr. Ankur Madan, Director, School of Education, Azim Premji University, Masters in Education Program, Diplomas in Early Childhood Education, Inclusive Education, Learning Disabilities. Her areas of teaching, research and writing are childhood studies in India and inclusive education. Thank you, Ankur. Delight. And I've heard so much about her that it's so good to see her in person today. Dr. Niranjan Aradhya needs no introduction. Development educationist, social activist. He's a senior fellow and program head of the Universalization of Equitable Quality Education Program at the Center for Child and Law, National Law School earlier, and clearly has been on so many committees and is the mentor of the School Development and Monetary Committees in Karnataka. Thank you. Thank you so much to have you here. Arman Ali, again another person who needs no introduction to the audiences here, Executive Director, National Center for Promotion of Employment for Disabled People, champion of disability rights in India, and has worked for over 2 decades in influencing legislation and policies for the empowerment of people with disabilities. He has served in various advisory roles with the Election Commission of India, National Human Rights Commission, and Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Okay? And again, Arman, thank you so much for being with us today. Last but not the least, Dr. Zelalem Birhanu Tafez, UNICEF Chief of Field Office for Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka and Telangana, seasoned medical doctor and public health specialist, excelled as Chief of Field Office in the Solomon Islands, demonstrating adept leadership through the COVID-19 pandemic. And with over 15 years of management experience, he's a proven advocate for children's welfare and collaborating with governments and communities worldwide. Okay? Thank you so much for joining us. As I set the context for this panel, let me just take a few minutes. I think if there's one thing I struggle with is in the statistics on disability. It depends on who is looking at it. And today as we speak, I'm going to pick the ones that actually are out there in the ministry website, and that I believe is the starting point. 15% of world's population lives with some form of disability, with 2.1% in India. Some of the more nuanced ones, 69% of these persons with disability in India live in rural areas. What kind of numbers are we talking about? 2.68 crores total, 1.5 crores men, 1.8 crore women. 17% of the disabled population are in the age of 10 to 19. India's growth story, economic growth story, needs active participation from this age group. So when we say 2050, India, world third largest economy, it's really about how do we make sure that we don't leave anybody behind. 1.24% of children in the 0 to 6 years, that's the group. 45% of the disabled population illiterate. Male illiteracy at 38%, female illiteracy as 55%. And there's enough data, and I'm sure my panelists will talk about how important it is for mothers to be educated, for them to be able to kind of give the kind of care that's needed. Even more interesting, within the urban disabled, 67% are literate, while in the rural, 49%. Urban disability itself means 67 literacy, so that's still a long way to go. Last but not the least, I think the UNESCO report 2019 talks about 3/4 of the children who are registered don't attend, and 12% of the children dropped out, 27% never went to school. So we are sitting here against the backdrop of this. So which means, I think I want to pick on what C.C. Joseph said. He said, it's not about a Fourth Wave Foundation. It's not about each one of your organizations. It's actually about how do we come together. One of the interesting things about India, and this is a paradox that all of us as Indians will live and grapple with, is that we have extraordinary legislations and policy framework embodying the spirit of what it means to be a global citizen. And yet, at the same time, the paradoxes of implementation are plenty. Every good policy, at the end of the day, has implementation challenges. And I think all of us are in this room because we recognize that the Right to Persons with Disability Act, the Universal Education for Children, every single one of them have moved the needle. But at the end of the day, what happens on the ground is the reality for all of us to experience change. So what I'm going to do is use this opportunity with the panel to be able to raise some important questions, primarily because each one of them who's sitting here in this panel is significantly accomplished, and they bring to this room their diverse experiences.